Before we begin, I want to let you know that this whole tutorial was done live on stream and I glossed over much of the setup. To get you where you need to be in order to make an origin, here's what you should do. First, download CurseForge. If you've played modded Minecraft, you can feel free to use whatever mod loader you want. I just prefer this one for newcomers. Once CurseForge is downloaded, you'll go to Create Custom Profile. Name it whatever you want and then select Fabric as the loader. This will be where you set up your mods. Here's a quick list of what you'll need, which I will elaborate on later in the video. Along with this, I provided instructions to install a pre-made profile down in the description if you'd rather use exactly what I've got down to the shaderpack and configs. Go ahead and click play and CurseForge should launch Minecraft for you without a problem. Create a new Minecraft world and make sure cheats are enabled. You'll need to know how to locate your datapacks folder. To do this, go into Settings, then Resource Packs, then Open Pack Folder. This will pop up the File Explorer. Navigate up a directory, go to Saves, Your World, and then Datapacks. Lastly, you should download and install VSCode. This is the text editor that I prefer when I make origins. There's a link down in the description for this. From here, you should have all you need, so without further ado, let's get into the video.
So, for all of you guys out there, when it comes to making an origin, it's best to have your Minecraft world pulled up. You want to have a world that's kind of just thrown on here. So the mods I like to use when it comes to creating origins: Sodium, which allows me to have shaders and stuff like that; Pakui for the scale command; obviously Origins zooming with the zoomer mod; Impersonate for like shapeshifting should the need arise. Apple Skin is really important because it lets you see saturation, which powers can influence. Next, I go into saves and I go into the world that I just created. So I have my chat's origin world, and then I go into data packs. At the moment, there are no data packs in here, but I can right click and I have this thing called Open with Code. I like to use VSCode as my IDE, my editor for making these things. I do recommend VSCode because they have a lot of plugins for that kind of thing. So if I open in code, I have now a blank project inside my data packs folder. The very first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna make a folder for your data pack. So whatever you wanna call it. So chat origin. Doesn't matter capitalization or whatever, just make your folder. And then from in here, inside of this folder, you're gonna create a new file that is a pack.mcmeta. And this is what's gonna be in every single data pack that is out there because it defines the name of the data pack and the version of Minecraft the data pack goes for. For example, you can see information regarding the pack MC meta here. So if you want to use a certain version, you're going to have to do this kind of thing. So if you ever have a problem with the data pack that's not compatible, or a resource pack, so if you're making a texture pack too, you need to come in here and define it here. Your pack MC meta is basically what, like a JSON file, and your JSON is JavaScript object notation. Really, really easy. It's not hard. Do not fret. So this is what the M's origin data pack currently looks like. Here are all of the origins I've made or have been working on. So our pack MC meta, it'll look like this in origin for chat. Okay. And then along with this, the other thing you're going to need is a data folder. Not in there. So inside your chat origin, you're going to make a new folder called data. Very simple, very easy. And then inside your data folder, you're going to make a folder called the name of your data pack. So chat origin. I'm just gonna call it chat, actually. And then along with that, you're gonna have another folder called origins. That is plural, it has an S. I got really confused for a long time over why one of my data packs wasn't working, one of my origins wasn't working, and it's because I had not named that correctly. So just putting it out there, Inside of our chat origin, we're gonna make another folder called origins. I know. Just go with it. There's a lot of them. And then in here, new folder, we're gonna have one called powers. The powers folder belongs in chat, not in origins. Can you guess where we're gonna put our powers for our origin? They're gonna go in here. They're gonna go in powers. Our origins folder is gonna contain the list of powers and then some other basic settings for the origin. So I'm gonna come into here and my origin is gonna be the chat origin. So I'm just gonna call it chat, and it's a JSON file. So chat.json, enter. And I have now opened that up. Here's an example. This is what my alien or the extraterrestrial origin looks like. You can also find this thing defined on the origins wiki. If you go to the origin JSON, it'll show you all of the possible options you could have for it and describe what they're there for. It's very, very handy. And I recommend, if you actually want to make your own origin, reading what these are for and what they do, because it might answer some questions. As it goes, I just want a really simple origin. And since I'm lazy, I'm just going to copy and paste it. I'm going to paste it into here. We don't have any powers established, so we're going to get rid of that. These brackets define an array. So this is where we're having our list of powers. The icon is what icon appears on the origin. These things up here, this little phantom membrane, the blaze here, these are the icons. So we're gonna go with just a stick for now. Order determines where it appears in the list. So if I want it to appear first, we're gonna put it there. Impact refers to how much the origin will alter your normal vanilla gameplay. So a human will not have any impact. An avian will have a little bit of impact. Enderian will have some, and a merling will have a lot. This is how we make the chat origin. So if I'm gonna go ahead and come in here, and let's say I'm going to give it a single power that's already defined by the origins mod. It's a very easy power. I can come in here and I can find all of their powers listed here, power types. These are all of their powers that you can actually make yourself and customize. But if I wanted to use, say, like, let's say I wanted to do Enderian, origins throw Ender Pearl. This will allow me to throw the Ender Pearl to teleport. And I'm going to come in here, and since it's already defined and already made, I don't need to do anything else. And I now have an origin, but we're still not going to be able to access it. So if I go into Minecraft, you'll realize that you cannot see the chat origin on here. It's gone. Usually if you just stop at random, you can't see it. You can't see it. It's gone. It's gone. It's not here. What you can do to test is you can do /reload, and then you can do /datapack list. And this will tell you whether or not it can find your data pack. So since I have the chat origin available here, you know that there's something I am missing from my chat origin to make it so that it's not visible. And that is because we have to not only define what it is, we not only describe its details, we have to also tell the game that it exists. And we do that by going to the origins inside of the data folder, the origins file there. We have a new folder called origin singular, not plural, singular. Layers. Layers is plural. Don't ask me why. It's just like that. And then inside of the origin layers folder, you have an origin.json. The origin folder contains a replace keyword. So if you want these origins to replace other origins, you're gonna change this. I'm putting it to false. We're not replacing anything. You also have your origins keyword that'll define all of the origins that exist in this data pack. We're only using the one. And it is the chat origin. I believe it's just chat actually. And we're calling it chat. So it's chat. Yes, it's chat. And if I save, I come in here and I reload, you can see chat origin right here. And all I should be able to do as a chat origin with a stick is teleport. Like that. Congratulations, you now have your very first origin. Does anyone have any specific requests on powers we can add to the origin? Do we want something that is a god origin? Do we want something that is a pathetic sad origin? Depending on how it goes, I may or may not add the origin to the community server. And I may or may not attempt to do a speed runny thing. Let's go ahead and make it small. Height on an origin can get kind of funny, but we can do it. It's going to be interesting because it's going to be an actually really complicated JSON. So I'm going to walk you guys through how to make a more complex one, I guess, right away. We're going to make a power for it. So a new file, we're going to call it small or small, I guess, small.json. Like any good power, we can come here and get the details for it. One of the things to note with a small origin is you need to consider whenever a player dies, they need to have their size set. Whenever a player changes their origin, it needs to be reset to their original size. Anytime a player picks this origin, it just needs to become that height. The way to define a trait of a player kind of like this isn't something that the origins mod, that this mod inherently can do. That's why we have Pakui. Pakui is a mod that lets you define size, ratio, things like that of a entity in Minecraft. And so by using both Pakui and origins, you can change the size of the player when an origin is selected. And this happens via a callback. So the way it works is when this origin is selected, use this command to set the player to small. And that power is called an action on callback. So if I'm gonna go to power types, I'm gonna go to an action related, and it's gonna go an action on callback. And you can find the details for how this works here. So anytime that this entity is chosen, it can be done. Only when chosen by an orb, it can be done. Whenever the origin is lost, the origin is added, removed, or the origin respawns. So if the player dies and respawns, then this will also trigger the thing. But one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy this folder, this text that they have here, and we're going to use that as our base. In here, the action we're going to execute when our origin is chosen is we're going to do a command. And now all I have to do is type the details of the command in here. You have to know what the Pakui command is supposed to do. The Pakui command looks like this. Scale, set, Pakui. And we're gonna do height. We're gonna set it to, if a player is 2 blocks tall, we're gonna make it half the size it should be. And this is just gonna set the player size to half. And now whenever we lose the origin, we want to reset our size. So the scale is going to be reset. The thing with the reset command is you do have to set a target, and so it's the @s. If you ever want to test to see whether or not the command will work as you expect it to, go into your Minecraft world, do /, that's the command. Scale, set, Pakui, we're gonna use height. We want to set it to 0.5. Boom, I have been squished to half height. We'll do scale reset, and I can do @s to target myself, and I'm back to normal. Now that I have this power defined, I can save. I can go into the chat origin JSON that we have up here, and I'm gonna make a chat : and I'm gonna use small. Small is the name of this file, and that is what we're gonna be using here. It will be that wide. Yes, I will show you guys how we can make it thinner in a moment. Hello 3, welcome to the ensemble. Thank you for following. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day. We're making one. Make skinny. I will make skinny. I will show you how. I will show you how. That is in the next step. So if I reload the data pack, very important, remember to reload your data pack. Do my orb of origin. I come in here and I find my chat origin. You can see that I have my power.chat.small. It has no defined name and it has no description, so the power, it just appears blank. But if I select it, you can see me shrink. And if I deselect it, I go back to normal. The thing to consider that happens that's really bad, /kill, my size has been reset. This is kind of like, I think, like a current glitch that's going on, where if you die, you lose it, when in reality, you should keep your size that's been set. So let's go ahead and fix this, and then let's also make it so you're skinnier. So we're gonna go ahead and come into our beloved, our small.json folder. And the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna define another thing. You can see here we have entity action respawned. We need this. So the same way we have our entity on action lost, we need an entity on action respawned. And we're gonna go ahead and use this. Now, in VS Code, whenever you're missing syntax, it'll highlight red or have the little underline squiggly line for the red. And we're just gonna go ahead and fix that by adding a comma. Now it's happy. So like how we have here with execute command, we're gonna copy this because we're lazy and paste it here. And just like we have this, the scale set, we're also gonna set it into here. Boom. And now when we respawn, if we reload and we pick our chat origin, pick it, and if I kill or unalive or whatever, I should immediately shrink back to the size that I'm supposed to be. Let's go ahead and make it so that we are the thin. We make twig. This is gonna be a little bit complex, so bear with me. Okay, we have to change what this looks like. So instead of having an origins execute command, we need to change it. So we're gonna go ahead and cut that out. And the type of command we are now gonna be doing, type of action, is an origins and. And what this does is it says, hey, instead of only doing an execute command, we're gonna have to do multiple actions. So here is our list of actions. And it gets kind of complicated because actions themselves have a really weird format. But here's what this looks like. You're gonna have your type, so your origins and, comma. You're gonna have your actions, and this is a list, which means we use our square brackets. And each action that goes inside of here needs to be inside of curly brackets before it's specified. Just whale lord. So now we can do this multiple times. So we're gonna come up here, we're gonna copy this whole thing. We're gonna put it in a comma and paste it. And now instead of height, we're gonna go ahead and do width. And we're gonna set it to the 0.25 like you guys asked for. I'm gonna come up here and copy this whole thing, and I'm going to replace the one below it with the exact same code. Now, if I save this file and I come in here and I reload, you have to reload, otherwise it will not have the updates. And I go in and I pick the chat origin. I am short and skinny. One of the things to consider is that I've shrunk in height, but my jump ability is still the same, so I can still jump over a single block. One of the other things to consider is that Pakui also allows you to modify hitboxes. So if I try to access the hitbox, which is F3B, you can see that my hitbox has also been shrunk. So a small character, if you don't, one thing to consider about small characters, and we've learned this the hard way, is that whenever they get really tiny, they're really hard to hit. The Pakui mod will allow you to do other things. Here are a whole bunch of options you can do for Pakui. The main ones you're gonna care about are base, which will do everything that you really could like think of. Width, height, hitbox size. Eye height is actually important because, you know, making eye contact of stuff could like actually impact gameplay. Motion determines how fast you can run or move. So if you ever want a character to just have a slower speed, you can make the motion a smaller value. Reach would give it a longer reach to hit things. If a held item is actually really fun. Same with drops, because it'll modify the size of items you hold or items you drop. So overall, Pakui is really, really handy to modify aspects of the player that will continuously impact gameplay. The things you have here, unless you set it up specifically to change, will be set for a constant thing. So launch is actually really easy. So if I wanted to show you guys how to do that real quick, I can come into here on this guy, and I can actually just type in launch. The launch ability is a power that's already defined by origins. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this guy. I'm gonna come back into here. We're gonna go into powers. We're gonna make a new power called launch.json. We're gonna paste it. And now we have the launch power. Every single time we have a cooldown of 600 ticks. You have your primary key and your secondary key. Okay. So our primary key is set to be this launch. We're gonna add it to our chat origin by going into chat:launch, saving it, reloading our data pack. And if I go to stick, the chat origin here, you can see that we now have the launch, right? So if I press G, I launch into the air and I throw off an ender pearl. Because we have the ender pearl ability. That's why. We're gonna get rid of the throw ender pearl now that we've gotten somewhere. Goodbye to the throw ender pearl. The slow fall, which is also really easy. If we come up here and I look up avian, look at this. Watch, avian. They have slow fall. So I can just come in here and I can go to our origin for it. So our chat, boom. I need to put quotes around that. So I'll just put it in a pair of quotes. And now we have slow falling. So you select it, and if I went to bounce, and now I have slow falling. And like the avian, if I shift, I fall faster. Let's go ahead and make the power boost ability. Lightning strikes and then it gives you powers. And the way that this would work is you have a new type, and this type is going to be called Origins Action on Self. And the entity action, which is the things that are going to be happening, our type is our good old origins, and because we're doing multiple things. And then our actions are going to be in a long list. Active self, here we go. So you can see your cooldown, your HUD render, key you can use to bind it. So here's an example of what it looks like. And you can see like these examples are really nice and they help a lot with these kind of things. So I really do recommend looking at the thing. Our very first thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead and do what we've done before. And our type is an execute command. And we've got our command that we're executing, which, believe it or not, is a summon lightning bolt. The next origin action we're doing is going to be of the type, and it's going to be called apply effect. Entity actions, we're looking at our actions here. We're gonna look at our apply effect. And you can see that we've got the effect, duration, and amplifier. There are also other things you could do here. I'm gonna go ahead and show you the full list of stuff for the effect. You have the effect that is being added, the duration of the effect, how long it's going to last, the amplifier. So a 0 amplifier, despite what you might think, does not make it nothing. It just leaves it as its normal base amplifier. So this is speed 1 for 20 ticks. Ambient, show particles, and show icon all do different things. I know show particles determines whether or not you have the particles from the effect. The icon determines whether or not the icon appears in the top right-hand corner of your screen. Like how when you get mining fatigue, you can see the little spoon in the upper right-hand corner. The show icon decides whether or not you can actually see that. I'm going to also want to add on a cooldown. We're gonna go ahead and make it 300 ticks so we can just go through it faster. Instead of my primary key, because I need a key to show for it, we're gonna go ahead and use the origins, or the key dot origins. I spelled correctly, thank you. The secondary key. And now I need to add the power to chat. So chat power boost. I come into here, back to game, reload, go and reselect my chat origin. One of the things you gotta do is you have to remember to set your keybinds. Sometimes your keybind is not always set for your secondary ability in origins. Sometimes you have to set it yourself. I have G as my primary and V as my secondary. If it's different for you, it can be different for you, whatever you gotta do. Now, all I'm gonna go ahead and do is press V. Did not work. But my origin is still active, so we know that there was something else that happened. This should be working. This is why. Instead of active self, I had action self. Now it'll work. Reload, stick. Now if I press V, lightning strike, and I have speed 1 applied. And I do not have any particles, but I do have it here, and I have it in the upper right-hand corner of my game. So now we have speed, regeneration, strength, absorption, and resistance. One thing that I would like you guys to know is that on all of these powers, you can see that they don't have any names. They've got power.chat.small. They don't have any descriptions, whereas our slow falling ability has a name, featherweight, and a description that describes it. You can set these values too. So real quick first, boom, I get all of the fun little effects from the lightning strike. Pretty sweet, if I do say so myself. We got a lovely little thing going. We're gonna go ahead and give this power a name. So the name of this power, we'll call it Thunder Strike. But Thunder SS Strike, because it was Thunder's idea. And we're gonna give it a description. Someone said zap or zip zap people. Zippity zappity. Your power is now my property. Thunder Strike. Zippity zappity, your power is now my property. Ta-da! We now have a title and a description for our power. So what you do, go into the air and strike. And then fall down on your enemies. Hacha! Now, this is a very, very basic origin. All things considered, this origin doesn't do much. our origin is completed, aside from like a little bit of fine tuning. Overall, you have a lot of really cool options for stuff you can do with origins because the people who made it are freaking geniuses. They're absolutely brilliant. And so they might not give you everything, but you have a lot of options for being able to make your own stuff.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, I would really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. This whole thing was done live on stream, so if you're interested in seeing my gameplay or you want to watch me mess around with the origins again, go ahead and follow my Twitch and join my Discord. Both are linked down below. Along with that, I've also linked all of the resources, including the mods, the VS Code, and the wikis. I've linked people who I think have better tutorials than what I've made. I learned from them, so I think you should go check them out too. Once again, thank y'all for watching, and I will see you next time.